In this video, we're going to talk about getters and setters. We've discussed the idea that our data needs to be held privately. We don't want our data to be public. If we want people to be able to access our data, we provide methods as a way for them to access those. So let's write a couple of those methods. If I want people to be able to read the name of my dog, I can provide a method for that. It's going to be a public method, which means classes outside of this class can access it. It's going to return, it's going to return a string because that's the data that name holds. And its name is going to be get name. Get name. And I forgot my parentheses. There we go. Right. So it's telling me I don't have a return statement. What are we going to do here? What is this method going to do? It's just going to return the name of our dog. Right? Now, I didn't use this here. Why not? Well, this method doesn't have a variable called name in it. So the only name that exists right now is the property. So I don't need to specify this here. So all this method does, when somebody calls get name, it returns the name of our dog. Right? So it's a getter. It's a way for somebody to get our property. We can get the name of the dog. We can also write one. This one's going to return an int, and it's going to get the age of our dog. And what is it going to do? It's just going to return the age. This pattern of constructors, this pattern of getters, and we'll see in a minute the pattern of setters repeats itself often. It's in a way it's a little bit repetitious because we do it quite often. And by standards convention, we name them with the name of the property and the word get in front of it. And we'll see that on setters here in a second too. A getter almost always just returns the property, and the type has to match the property. Let's go over here and use it. So our dog class is here. This is telling us we're not doing anything. We'll talk about that later. Our dog class is here. Now if we want to access those fields, I don't use the name of the property anymore. I say get name. I forgot the word Fido. Remember I called my dog Fido, so I have to use its variable so it knows what object I'm talking to. Fido, get name. Now I could have called this dog George, but when I created the dog, his name was Fido. So don't get the name of the dog confused with the variable we're using for reference here. This will work. So it prints out Fido. Actually, we can be a little more user-friendly here. The dog's name is Fido. We could also do, I'm going to copy this, the dog's age, and we say get age. So we have two getters, one for each property, one that gets the name, one that gets the age. They both work. The dog's name is Fido, the dog's age is 3. All right. How about setting those? What if we want to change the dog's name? we can come over here. For every getter, we often have a setter. Okay. Setters are normally void return types because they don't pass back any information. And in this case, we'll call it set name. Now, how does the setter work? Well, you have to be able to pass in a value. In this case, we'll let people, whoever's calling the method, pass in a string called name. Not a string called name, a string called name. And we'll do exactly what we did up here. When they pass in a parameter, something to our parameter, they pass in the name, we're going to use that parameter to set the value of the field. So this dot name. So this name is the parameter. We're going to use it to set the value of the field or the property. I'm going to say properties. In Java, people often call them fields. Actually, in Java, the proper notation is fields. Okay, and we'll see in next semester in C#, fields and properties are two different things. Very closely related, and a lot of people use them interchangeably, especially in Java. But in some languages, it means two different things. All right. So now somebody can call set name and pass in a name for their dog. And the name will come here, get assigned to the variable on the outside, and we can now change our dog's name. We can do the same thing for age. Public set age. And I hope when I am doing this, excuse me, this is going to be void. And they're going to pass in an int with the age in it. And we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to take the value they pass in and assign it to the field for our class. Let's go over here to our dog and try this. So here we go. The dog's name is Fido. The dog's age is 3. But now let's call Fido. We can call set. Let's call his set name and give him a new name. We'll call him George. And then I'm going to print out, use this line here. I'm going to print out Fido.getName. Now my variable name didn't change. My reference variable name to Fido did not change. It still calls getName based on this variable, even though we changed the dog's name field to George. So his name was Fido, his age is 3, but then we changed his name to George. And when I say Fido.getName, it now prints George. So we can use the setter method to change a name. If this gets confusing, let's do this. Instead of calling him Fido, let's refactor and rename. Instead of Fido for our variable name, let's just call it Dog1. Because now it makes a little more sense. Dog1, I'm going to set his name to George when I did have it set to Fido before. Right, now we don't have any confusion on the variable name. All right, what about age? Dog1, age. 2, 6. Then we'll use this line here again to print out the dog's age. All right, so our driver class here, all we're doing is creating objects and calling methods on objects. We're not doing any anything important here. This is just a way to test our class to make sure that it works. Here's where all the magic happens. So for every property or field that we have, we have a getter and a setter. We have a getter for the age and a setter for the age. Now, I hope that when we made this age field, you were all thinking about some things that we learned about in database. We don't want to have to go in our database every year on this dog's birthday and update its age. So age isn't really the greatest thing to be storing about our dog. You know, we should probably store birth date instead. But we're going to keep using age for this for this example. So we have a constructor. We have a getter and setter for each of our properties. In the next video, let's talk about a different constructor. We're going to add another constructor, and talk about why and whether or not we want to later in the next video.